I am in the pursuit of truth, so I've taken it upon myself to interview boots on the ground. I have interviewed members of the Los Angeles Fire Department, and the truths I have found are harrowing. Why is Gavin so adamant about pushing this narrative that they did not run out of water in the Pacific Palisades? Well, it's because they did. A firefighter told me that he was on a street in the Pacific Palisades, and not only did he run out of water, but they had insufficient hydrants. So he explained to me that the standard distance between residential homes is usually less than 1,000 feet. And in this case, these homes were very large. We're talking like 15,000 square foot mansions and hydrants that were over 1,000 feet apart. In addition to that, running out of water and these hydrants being too far apart, these hydrants only had a 2.5-inch wharf hydrant instead of 4 inches, which means the diameter of the hose. This means that these firefighters did not have sufficient fire flow to extinguish these fires. He told me that they were doing the best that they could and they were making good effort, but they could have saved more homes by putting up a water curtain, which would have allowed them to save the exposure of houses. But they couldn't because they ran out of water in the Pacific Palisades. He highlighted that he didn't want to diminish the fact that this fire behavior was insane and it was the worst he's ever seen. We could have saved way more structures than we did if we had water. In addition to that water reservoir being empty in the Pacific Palisades, holding 117 million gallons of water, they tarped it when they never should have for environmental reasons and evaporation. But don't you think that evaporation should not supersede the need for helicopters to access the water and suck out water for fire suppression, for aerial help? That was out of the question because it was tarped when it was not meant to. I was also informed that the city, allegedly, did not consult with the fire department before they drained this reservoir. Let me read what he explained to me. He says that we are set up to run something called a master stream operations. This is where you're flowing upwards of 800 gallons a minute from a big water cannon on top of the rig. And in order to do that effectively, you have to be connected to a hydrant. It's highly effective. You can put out a ton of fire with it. Now, granted, this fire behavior was insane, and we were working to save every home we can. But in this instance, we could have saved more homes if we had more water, but no water in the Palisades. We had water in Malibu because those reservoirs were filled. It's basic stuff. We need water to put out fires. With water in Malibu, we made a difference and saved homes because we sit on a hydrant and protect the exposure. The reason we even lost homes in Malibu along the coast was because they were connected. It wasn't multiple structures. In theory, it was one big structure. But he also told me that what these people are saying, that no water system is able to operate and push out that much water, isn't incorrect. But they're conflating extinguishing the whole fire with that because that's not what they're trying to do. They're not trying to extinguish the whole fire. They're going to lose homes. They know that that's the reality, but the reality is also that they could have saved more if they had water in the Pacific Palisades, and that is the message that needs to get out. I mean, Malibu was also really bad, but at least they saved homes there. But then you go look at the streets of Palisades, and you tell me there's nothing left. I also asked about climate change, and I was told that they're calling bullshit on climate change because the Native Americans called the Santa Ana winds the devil winds. These winds have been around for hundreds of years, and it's the main reason that these fires got so bad. So I don't know how you conflate the two. Also, these winds were predictable. We knew that they were coming, so why were we not better prepared in the days prior? I asked about rumored arson, and he said, I'll be honest, and I'll say what no one is willing to say. It's the frickin' homeless. They had a Palisades fire in the exact same area 3 years ago caused by homeless, but no one wants to say it and everyone's afraid. More than half of the calls they respond to are fires caused by the ever-growing homeless population in LA. And they'll cut the fire department budget by 20 million, but they'll spend billions on the homeless. That does absolutely nothing. I asked about DEI, and the answer was, of course, we don't mind women in the fire service if they could do the job. That's all that matters. But then a wife in the background says, my husband, if he needs help, his coworkers need to be able to carry him out. I don't care who you are, but you shouldn't be getting regulations changed. And you need to carry my husband and anyone else who needs help out. Pretty reasonable stuff. I asked about controlled burns. They're not allowed to do that because of these insane environmental regulations that Karen Bass has prioritized. And I say Karen Bass because they're allowed to do fire operations in Santa Barbara, but not in Los Angeles County because of the environmental regulations. Because Karen Bass has prioritized these conservation activists over the betterment of her people. There was also beyond frustration about this multi-billion-dollar water bond that was passed in 2014 by California voters to build reservoirs. It was meant to store and capture water. They would have been able to put out so much more of the fire with more water. The harsh reality is that if they had access to this 117 million gallon reservoir, it would have made at least a 10% difference and they would have saved thousands of more homes. For perspective, 117 million gallons of water is equivalent to 29,000 water trucks. It is estimated that 12,000 structures have been lost in the Palisades. That water would have been just under 10,000 gallons of water per structure lost. Gavin has seen this play out in the 2018 and 2020 fires, and he's been warned numerous times by numerous people, both publicly and privately, to properly prepare, and he didn't. Anyone with common sense knows that the state needs to clear brush, allow controlled burns, increase water storage, and hire based on performance alone. But Gavin's refusal to implement these solutions just further highlights his incompetence and inability to effectively do this job. Because instead we've seen Gavin give in to the woke mob, and he's doubled down on his proven dangerous and deadly policies. Gavin, you have failed the people of California. You are a poor leader. You take no accountability, and you're focused on promoting your own image. You're a professional liar. You were caught saying that you were on the phone with Biden when, oh wait, you weren't. You lied then, you lie now. The truth will always prevail, and you will be exposed, Gavin Newsom. It is time for the people of California to demand better. Your votes have had terrible consequences on people's lives, and this needs to stop. Here is the transcript of one of my interviews with the Los Angeles firefighter of 20 plus years of service.
That the people who are filing these claims say that this shouldn't have happened, and they want someone to take accountability. Now, this latest lawsuit has been filed against the Ladwp by a group of survivors of the Palisades fire who claim the utility's inadequate water delivery hampered firefighters in battling the deadly fire, which has destroyed thousands of structures and killed at least 9 people. Now, a key part of the lawsuit is the Santa Ynez Reservoir, a 170 million gallon water storage complex that had been empty for nearly a year. Here you see that reservoir as the Palisades fire roared around it. The Ladwp put out a statement before this filing saying in part the utility, quote, was required to take the Santa Ynez Reservoir out of service to meet safe drinking water regulations. Just days ago, Governor Newsom called for an investigation into Ladwp and the loss of water pressure at local fire hydrants and lack of water supplies amid the firefight. The Ladwp lawsuit comes after several lawsuits were filed against SoCal Edison by people who lost their homes in the Eaton fire. At least 5 lawsuits have been filed by homeowners and renters. They allege SoCal Edison failed to de-energize all of its electrical equipment despite red flag warnings issued by the National Weather Service and believe the fire was sparked by downed power lines. The wind-driven fire destroyed an estimated 7,000 structures and has killed at least 16 people. Now, back out here live, all of these lawsuits are seeking, including this latest one against the Ladwp, are seeking compensatory damages for the plaintiffs as well as punitive damages.
And the facts, but no one has any patience anymore. In this weaponized, back to the grievance of Trump, everyone else, there's immediacy. And lies travel the proverbial world, and it's hard to get the facts out there unless you have the backing of those facts, and you can communicate them soberly. And
yeah, Gavin, I think that's a really good idea. Let's go through the facts of what you've done to my home state of California. In 2024, you signed off on cutting $100 million in funding for fire prevention. Fact. The hydrant testing for 2024 and 2025 was suspended. Fact. You suspended brush removal. Fact. Your mayor of LA, Bass, cut $17.4 million in funding to the fire department. Fact. One of the main water supplies that has been empty for nearly a year, holding 117 million gallons of water. Empty. Fact. Your fire chief of LA had in her bio that her #1 top priority was DEI and spent a ridiculous amount of money on DEI. Fact. You fired firefighters for not getting the vaccine. Fact. Your California regulations prevent the capture and storage of water runoff and prioritize the Delta smelt fish over your own people. Fact. State Farm announced last year to non-renew 69% of the policies in the Pacific Palisades. Why? Don't worry, they gave a reason. Long-term brush risk and poor management. Fact. Their reasoning for this? They said because County of LA suspended brush removal in Palisades. Fact. In 2014, California voters that I voted on passed a $7.5 billion water bond to fund water infrastructure projects, including a $2.7 billion allocation specifically for new water storage. 2014, 0 of these projects have been started. Fact. You don't prosecute petty crimes in California, leaving already vulnerable people more vulnerable now to the looting that's going on because of these fires. Fact. You blame climate change, but there's dozens of videos surfacing now proving arson. Your homeless population has increased 8% since 2022, despite you claiming to funnel money, billions of taxpayer dollars into it. Where's that money going if it's only getting worse? Borders are wide open. You asked Biden to manage all of this misinformation. Oh, you mean the facts that you don't want out there that make you look bad? That information that you've now weaponized? And then, oh, how could anyone have predicted this? Oh wait, Trump did. Trump did. He went on a 7-minute rant to Joe Rogan about what's going to happen because of your mismanagement of these policies. You and your Democratic elected politicians need to be held accountable. You promised on your own website, you promised that you had this under control. You campaigned on it. And you misled the people of California, and you lied to the people of California. That is fact. I am disgusted. I'm heartbroken. I don't even have words. I'm angry at you. This is why politics matter. Who you elect matters. You need to resign, Gavin. It's your time in politics. It's done. Over.
This is